You got the recorder on?
Yes, it's on.
All right. It is 6:02 on April 24th. I'd like to call the governing board meeting to order. Thank you for being here. Lisa, roll call.
Troy Anderson.
Present.
Patty Fred.
Present.
Scott Bartle.
Present.
Leslie Carlisle Burnett.
Here.
Veronica Gay.
Present.
All right, we are here. I have asked Butterfield staff to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, and we are at 1D, which is adopting the agenda, and I do have one item to pull off completely and take it out of completely off the agenda until next week, which is item 6B, the donations portion from the consent agenda. It needs to be completely removed. We're waiting on some more information. Is there anything else that needs to be changed? No? Do we have any motions? Motion to approve. Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
With the amendment?
With the amendment.
removal of 6B, yes, correct.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The agenda is approved with item B being pulled completely off. Okay. We are at our call to the public. Let me get my little part that I have to read. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or rescheduling the matter for future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate, pursuant to policy KFA. And if you come up, please state your name for the record. So do we have any, I don't have any speaker cards, so I'm assuming no one call the public? Okay, we will move on. Superintendent's report, Dr. Chestnut.
Well, we are starting my report with Rotary Students of the Month, and we're very proud of them. And I know that Alma Farrell is here and Mary is here. I'm not sure who's coming up to make these presentations.
In. Hello. Hello, hello.
There you go.
Hello, I'm Mary Richardson, and I'm representing Rotary today. Every month, we honor Students of the Month that were nominated by teachers and staff at the local schools for the leadership qualities that they represent and the activities that they are involved in. In Rotary, we have a 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendship? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And these students represent that and much more in how they are showing up in the world. So, first of all, I'm just going to review some of the February Students of the Month who were not able to make it last month, just because we didn't get a chance to share what they're up to. One of them is Samantha Alcott Chapman. She's an 8th grader from Maricopa Wells Middle School and the daughter of Corey Chapman. She couldn't make it tonight because she's trying out for cheerleading and then going on to catechism, so she's a busy girl, representative of many of our students on this list. It's reported to Rotary Club that she is an excellent student with 3.7 GPA, has great citizenship, and is well respected by students and staff at Maricopa Wells. She is active as a cheerleader and was part of the soccer team. Samantha participated in track and was a best buddy to the student with special needs. It is commendable that she is active in community projects such as Maricopa Youth Center, the Rotary Pool, a local dance group at the dance studio in Maricopa. These are great leadership qualities, and we Rotarians applaud her for being involved in helping build a great community for all of us to live in. So let's give a round of applause to Samantha Alcott-Chapman. We're saving the one who's here for last because we're building up to that. So the next one we're going to review is also a February student of the month, and her name is Miranda Ware. She was a senior at Maricopa High School. She is a senior at Maricopa High School and daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ware. It is reported that she is an outstanding student with good citizenship status. It's also reported that she is active in drama and after-school clubs and in community projects through the school clubs that she's involved in. We recognize the leadership qualities and applaud her for being involved in building a great community. So let's give her some recognition as well. So the last one of our February students of the month is Brock Schrader. He is actually at wrestling today. He's an 8th grader at Desert Winds Middle School and son of Brian and Lisa. It is reported to the Rotary Club that he is a straight A student and puts forth greatest effort in his classes. He leads by example, displaying exemplary behavior both in and out of the classroom. He's a member of the football team at Desert Winds, active in community projects through the school. For these and many other great leadership qualities, let's acknowledge him. And now on to this month's. So for March, we have Rachel Perez. Is Rachel here? Did I miss her? Did she come in and I missed her? Okay, I didn't think so. So Rachel is the daughter of Roberta and Maria Perez and was nominated by Ms. Diane Volante for the Rotary Student of the Month Award. Mrs. Volante reports she's observed that Rachel is an outstanding student and young adult. Rachel achieves the highest grades and demonstrates excellent leadership skills both in and out of the classroom, and her enthusiasm is very high. It is reported that she is in the 8th grade club and is on the soccer team. Mrs. Volante reports that she is an awesome student and is honored to acknowledge her. So let's join Mrs. Volante in giving her a round of applause. Okay, and so now we have our very special Katie Hayes. Katie, if you could just walk on up here to receive your award. And while Katie walks up here, let's acknowledge the parents of Katie who've played such an important role in, parents are Davis and Lisa. Let's give them a round of applause for their role. So Katie, I'm going to read this about you. She is nominated by Mr. Abel of the Maricopa's Wells Middle School. Mr. Abel reports that the staff had the privilege of observing an outstanding student and citizen that you are. Katie has a GPA of 3.5, and she's in a high school algebra class, officer in student council, as well as a member of the National Junior Honor Society. She's a 20+1 student, and her Future Cities team won the state award for sustainability. You've also presented demonstrations of your Taekwondo skills at city functions, including the Salsa Festival and the groundbreaking for the Multi-Gen Center. We want to acknowledge you for these and many other leadership skills. So how we acknowledge you is you will receive, first off, a pin. Our service pin of the year is Peace Through Service.
I like it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get this open. Thank you. You also receive a gift certificate for Walmart to, don't spend it all in one place. Oh wait, do. And you are eligible for a scholarship at the end of the year. So, and there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again for letting us honor these students here at your meeting. Bye-bye.
Thank you to Rotary and Mary Richardson. We're always very proud of our Rotary Students of the Month. Always great to hear about their leadership abilities and their great accomplishments in the classroom and other activities. A few other things to report on tonight. Last week I had my monthly parent superintendent coffee meeting and had 2 sessions, one at 10 o'clock in the governing board room and one at 7 o'clock at Butterfield Elementary. And our topic once again was the budget. Gathered some good good input, and be sharing that in detail with you in the near future. Had a good discussion, and both of those were good meetings. On Sunday, I had the opportunity to attend the Maricopa High School Show and Shine Car Show, which was really quite a great event. It was the second one. Had one last year. This was the second event, and I believe Mr. Nielsen told me that there were 59 entries, and they raised $2,000 for the CTE auto program as a result. And it was really well done. And I'd never really thought of our high school courtyard as the perfect place for an auto show, but it's a perfect place for an auto show. And not only were there cool cars on display, but there were also welding demonstrations. There was also an Automotive Technology Institute where many of our students go after high school for further training. And they had a really cool display, and it was very well done. There were food vendors, there was music, there were raffle tickets. It was quite an event. So I really appreciate Mike Connor, our auto teacher, who put that together. He even had 2 of his own cars in the show, which I didn't know he had cars of his own. And Mr. Nielsen put that together. It was just a great event and great way for our community to get involved with our CTE programs. Today I had the opportunity to attend my first Society of Automotive Engineers, A World in Motion program. This year they are at Butterfield and Maricopa Elementary School. And it is really a cool program. This is Bill Klein. He's kind of the head guy, and it's not a very good picture, but all you need to see is that white hat. He often wears that white hat. He wasn't wearing it today, actually, but he's kind of the facilitator, the teacher, and we bring the entire 4th grade into the multipurpose room. So there's about 100 students in there, and then a bunch of volunteers help, facilitate the small groups. And the students are working on boats with sails, except they sail on the linoleum floor in the gym, with a fan behind, and measure the distance, and it's just an engineering project, really, and a lot of data sheets, and then next week we'll start getting into experimenting with different types of sails and that kind of thing. But it's just a great hands-on learning opportunity, and Mary Richardson, I know, was one of the volunteers today, so thank you to her for doing that, and just had a good number. There were at least 8 or so volunteers helping today. It's a great event, so I enjoyed participating. And from time to time, I have brought you information about our staff that accomplishes very cool things in their personal lives, which are really noteworthy. And you'll remember at our last board meeting, we recognized Ronnie Buchanan as our Teacher of the Month from Saddleback Elementary, physical education teacher, and very well respected as hardworking PE teacher at Saddleback. And in case you missed this on the sports page, this weekend, he was also first place in the 2013 PATS run in Tempe, and that was the 2nd year in a row that he has won that event. So that was very cool. And if you look up the interview that he did on Channel 12, it's online. You should take a look at that interview. He's a very humble guy, and it was a very cool thing, a very cool accomplishment for him. So we're proud of Ronnie. And that is all I have in my superintendent report. And just for Christian in the tech booth there, I'm going to use these slides later in the meeting. So I forgot to tell you that. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to? Go ahead.
I attended the prom fashion show, which was sponsored by Families First. At the Performance Arts Center, along with Miss Tori. And it was a really great event. Over 300 dresses were donated, and these dresses go to families and girls who cannot afford a prom dress. And it was a really exciting show. We've got some really talented kids in that high school. They should be in Hollywood. They're amazing. And I just want to share that with all of you. It's awesome. Those dresses were beautiful. The girls were beautiful. The boys were handsome. It's just a great thing. I wish they'd have done that when we were in high school, so, thank you.
Mr. Bottom?
No report.
Mrs. Cotray? Okay, I have a couple more things. Besides the high school fashion show, kudos to the parents because we've got some amazing students and children in our community and in our district, and that is because we have amazing parents. So that high school production was fabulous. You should look for it next year. I also went to the elementary schools, had their mile meet with the 4th and 5th grade, and there was about 30 4th and 5th graders plus all their parents. So the stands were pretty full. It was great. Got to see everybody, but the kids, oh my goodness, they were running their little hearts out. So that was exciting. Actually, I think Butterfield finished in the top in all of them. Yeah. Good. It was fabulous to watch. Yeah, it was great to watch. And then I also had the opportunity to attend Santa Cruz's field day today. I know the elementary schools are, there's only a month left of school, so they're going crazy. But it was a nice opportunity, again, to see parents and our students and our teachers out enjoying each other and working on the team building. And I was privileged and very thankful that I got to help do one of the stations. So brought back my teaching. It was really fun. So great community, great district, and I really think we have some fantastic students. So thank you, teachers and parents. So with that, we will move on to our work study. Dr. Chestnut.
Well, as you know, each meeting we've had a report from one of our schools on the progress they're making on their math improvement plans. So it's our privilege to have Butterfield Elementary School here tonight, and Principal Janelle Hildick is up first, so I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Hildick.
All right. Good evening, members of the board, President Anderson and Dr. Chestnut and audience. Can you hear me pretty well here? Is this okay? Or is it? Okay. My name is Janelle Hildick. I'm the principal of Butterfield Elementary. And joining me this evening are some of our staff members. We have our academic coach, Becky Roush, 5th grade teacher, Carrie Russell, 3rd grade teacher, Jackie Whitty, and our 1-2 combo teacher, June Schull. And if I could take a moment to recognize all of our staff that came out tonight, if you wouldn't mind standing up so the board can see who you all are. Thank you for coming. All right, well, the purpose of our presentation this evening is to give you an update as to our progress in math and our excellence towards math. In this slide, you'll see a picture there of Buzz, our Bobcat, and our school motto, which is Believe, Excel, Succeed. Okay. We know many factors are essential for academic success. One major piece is how students feel about themselves and others. When they feel safe and secure, they are ready to learn. So character at Butterfield does count, and we celebrate it each and every day. Our students know that character is important. We've taken this photo on the left with the help of the Maricopa Fire Department. Each grade level represents a color of the 6 pillars of character. And in the lower right-hand corner of that photo is Buzz, or Bobcat. So he came along and celebrated with us in that photo. The photo to the right is a little collage that I made of all of the animals that represent each of the pillars. And every month, a teacher picks a boy and girl from their class who represents that pillar that we're celebrating for the month. And we invite parents to come. We have an awards assembly, and we honor those students with a certificate, and they get their handprint on the wall along with their name in black Sharpie marker. It stays there permanently, and it's up there forever. And that's just our way of showing to students each and every day. In addition to that, when I say each and every day, We announce their names. They get PAWS tickets, which you'll see later in the presentation. And PAWS stands for Positive Attitudes Winning Strategies. If we catch them being good, they receive a PAWS ticket, and we announce that every morning on announcements, who they are. So it's just a way to get that positive climate and that culture going in the school, which is so important for learning. We'll see here that we have set some SMART goals at the beginning of the school year. We looked at our previous year's results on AIMS, as well as the fall data on Galileo. The goals were specific, measurable, most importantly attainable, realistic, and timely. When measuring our progress towards these SMART goals, we use the district benchmark assessment of Galileo. So by May 2013, 75% of all K through third grade students will be at grade level as measured by district benchmarks and third grade AIMS math assessment. Then by May 2013, 70% of all fourth through fifth grade students will maintain or increase academic level from the previous year and score proficient on the spring AIMS math assessment.
Our next slide is shows our Galileo math scores from September to December. From that time, we have grown towards our goal of 75% of our students passing. This graph shows the students passing in benchmark 1, which is the gold bar that you see, compared to those passing the second benchmark, which is the green bar that you see up there, and that was in December. Our areas of celebration at that time were first grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. And we have been working with our second and third grade teams to assist them in showing their progress as well. We are working this week on taking our Galileo test, and I will tell you that I cannot scan those bubble sheets in fast enough, and I have teachers standing at my door saying, "Are they in? Are they in?" They are so excited to see their scores, which is really, really neat to see because they've been working very, very hard to improve those. So, I don't know how to turn the next slide. Right? Sorry. Okay. Our next slide, in order to support math instruction, we continue to hold grade level meetings and weekly team leads meetings. We gave our teachers an annual data instructional planning day to, which was about 2 hours per grade level, to look at their Galileo results and use that to plan the rest of the instruction for the remainder of the school year. During our school level professional developments, we focused on creating learning targets for students from learning objectives. And the analogy that I like to use when talking about learning targets and learning objectives is like a GPS system. So with the GPS system, you enter your final destination, which would be our learning objectives. And then along the way is your roadmap, which would be our learning targets. And it's through each of those learning targets or those landmarks along the way where students are doing some self-assessment and self-evaluation of their understanding of what's being taught and how that's measuring along the way so that ultimately we reach our final target, which again would be our learning objective.
The classroom environment is part of the larger school environment. School-wide expectations are to take care of this place, take care of oneself, and to take care of others. Each of our school expectations is aligned with one of the character pillars at our school. Each classroom is student-centered with the main goal to focus on individual accountability in behavior and in learning. This is an example of one of our PAWS tickets. Students are caught showing good character traits at school, and they receive these, and every morning they're read on the announcements, and they are recognized for their contributions to our school's environment. And part of our success story will be involving our students in their learning through productive and cognitive engagement. Some of the strategies that we use to support our math learning are cooperative learning, providing feedback, recognition, discussions through math solutions, math talks, Socratic seminars, and questioning with depths of knowledge questions. This year, we were awarded the 21st Century Learning Community Grant, and we created Club Buzz, named after Buzz, our Bobcat mascot. Finally, part of our plan was to implement daily fluency across the grade levels for math facts, and we have incentives for those at the end of the year, and our goals are projected on the walls. We have displays at every grade level.
In order to support our math instruction, professional responsibilities of teachers were related to this goal. Our math and science nights support and reinforce our math instruction. Also, district and school site professional development provide teachers with additional strategies to increase student achievement. All committees support our math instruction and our school's effort toward our goal of 75%. And our different committees are listed up there. One of them is the Bling Committee. And this committee is a design committee that's to improve our school's appearance. And one of their goals is to make sure that all of the student work that we put out by our doors, because we like to display our work, that we put our standards right next to it so that anyone who walks by can see those standards and see what the kids were working on. We have had 3 major challenges, and the first being staff turnover throughout our school's existence. If you look at this slide, only 9 of our 35 certified staff members are still at our school, and only 4 out of our 12 classified staff members remain since the opening school year. In addition, we're on our 3rd principal in 5 years. We feel we've made some improvement in this area because this year we have all but 2 staff members coming back next year, and will be led again by our wonderful principal, Janelle Hildeck.
Our second challenge is student turnover. We had 132 students enroll after the 10th day of school, and we had 120 students who have withdrew after the 10th day. Specifically, we delineated where students went after leaving our school. 26 moved within district, 12 moved to Maricopa charter schools, 15 moved out of state, and 67 moved out of district. Our third challenge, finally, lack of resources becomes challenging for teachers and students. There's not enough materials to instruct math and technology in the classroom. In addition, there is not enough time given to our teachers to properly prepare for learning each day. There are 2 days throughout the week that teachers do not receive a break beyond their 20-minute lunch break.
All right. Oops. Let's go back. Sorry. Pictured here is our Butterfield staff. We took this photo at 7 o'clock in the morning, so several are missing, but we are proud of those who got to show up for this photo opportunity. Finally, the last slide is a little montage of photos to share what we were discussing in the slides. And included in this video is evidence of the posted expectations and school plan, teachers promoting conceptual learning in math, so you'll get to see some students as well, student questioning in math through higher level questions, Socratic seminars and depths of knowledge. You'll see some classes in action with photos representing that. You will see teachers how they post questions, higher level questioning for their students to look at when they're in their classroom on their focus walls. And also included, you'll see some staff recognition boards, how we honor staff each and every day to promote that positive climate. The one board you'll see up there, we just started when I took the photo, so it's not that full. So just bear with us. I had to get some photos in there. So, and then finally, you'll see some of our business partners that we've partnered up with that help promote student achievement. K-Pets comes out, Bill and his dog Zoe, and they come and read with the students that are below grade level and some of our kindergarten students. So it really promotes that reading fluency that we know is so important for not just reading, but for math instruction as well. You'll also see Maricopa Dance and Fitness. They were also represented at the high school with the prom dresses. They were there dancing as well. They came out during Ames Week, and this is the second year they've done that. and taught the entire school a dance. Then on Friday, the last day of Ames testing, the students performed for their parents. So the parents came out, and it was just a really fun time, a good way to end the week of all the stress with testing. So they really enjoyed that. And I believe that is it for the talking business. I want to show you our nice little movie that we put together, just showing you all the pictures and sights of Butterfield. It's right here.
The Maricopa High School Culinary Arts presentation. Is that next?
Yes, thank you also to Butterfield.
Butterfield.
Great presentation. Thank you very much. Enjoyed that. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Rick Nielsen, our Career Technical Education Director, and he has teachers from the Culinary Arts program with him here and some students, and I know they have a little presentation for us, so I think I'm turning it over to Rick at this point. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay. Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut. I'd like to introduce our two culinary instructors, Rex Sherry and Greg Mann, and they've got a nice presentation and some examples from the students for you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to be here. We're having a technical issue. It is pretty visual. So let me just talk a little bit about the program. This is my 6th year coming up in front of the board for competitions. And each year I've come up here and said, I don't think I can top this. Well, thanks to Greg this year and all the great kids that we had, we did top it. We topped last year, we topped the year before, and we just seem to keep getting better. And our students just keep getting better and better. The 3 students you see here today, Andrew, Josh, and Priscilla, what's amazing about these 3 is they all medaled or got a certification in 1 or more competitions, and it's the first time ever in competition. And as you'll see with the slide presentation, I'm going to just go ahead and let them speak a little bit about their dishes. We did lose 4 people that were supposed to be here tonight, 4 of our students, because they live pretty far out, and the car broke down, and all 4 of them were in there. So Greg and I will kind of pick up and explain their dishes, but we're going to talk about the 3 competitions that they were in, and then we actually have slides of each individual and their dish, and we're going to let these 3 come up and talk about it. But I just want to let you know how proud I am of all of them. Greg really, you'll see with Jessica's presentation, Greg came on last year and really took our expertise to a whole nother level. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first one here is the ACF competition. This is the American Culinary Federation, which is our governing board in the United States. If you see an executive chef with their title on here, you have to go through the ACF and get it. So there's a very high level of competition, as well as the chefs that come around. One of the chefs this year runs Pebble Beach, not just the golf course, but all of Pebble Beach. So that's the kind of caliber of connections that these students make. So let me just move forward. This second one is our CCAP competition in February and March. Jessica Stansberry was a finalist and got a scholarship, as well as Josh, Andrew, and Priscilla. All came very close to going to states. They all participated in regionals. Our last one is the SKILLSUSA commercial baking competition. It was the first time we had 2 students that actually finished everything. It's a marathon. It takes 6 hours, 6 hours to bake everything. They shut the ovens off at a certain time, and that's it. You're either done or you're not. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cue these guys in and let them come up and explain their dishes. So I believe we have, Aaron Johnson. Aaron's out in the boonies somewhere trying to get his truck fixed. But he was an ACF competition certificate winner. He had a Hunter's chicken here with tornade potatoes, and this was rondelle cut on squash and julienne cut on onions. As you can see from the pictures, the potatoes themselves have to be 7 sides. They have 1 hour to put out 2 plates. So it's very intense, very competitive, and very difficult. So I'll just go ahead and move on. This is Andrew. I'm going to let Andrew come up and talk. Andrew was an ACF competition certification. He's certified. He also just missed the state finals. The other really great thing about Andrew is we lost our president of our CTSO, which is our Career Technical Student Organization. Andrew stepped up to the plate and took over that position as president, and really has done a wonderful job of organizing and moving everything forward. So, Andrew, you want to come up and talk about your dish?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew HUMEYUMPTEWA, and I am a participant of the ACF culinary competition. My dish for the competition was chicken Kiev with tornado potatoes and rondelle cut, squash and julienne onions. The chicken Kiev consists of a pan-seared breaded chicken breast stuffed with a compound butter of garlic and parsley. And like my instructor, Mr. Sherry, said. The tornado potatoes have to be 7 sides, which is very difficult at first. But eventually, with the amount of practice that we went through for ACF, which consists of weeks and months, we eventually got it all down, and we did participate, and I was able to finish on time, and which is a very hard thing to do in ACF, is to finish on time.
Thank you, Andrew. I have a loud voice, so I'll just speak right here. Megan Worth is another one that's out in the boondocks somewhere in the truck. So she took a 5th place in Skills USA Commercial Baking and also was an ACF competition certification. This dish is a little bit different. It's called a Hunter's Chicken. It's a little bit different from the one that Andrew did. But it's also, they met all these requirements on the plate. I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but she did a great job. I wish she could be here, but she was stuck too. Or either she's working or she's stuck in the truck, one of the two. Okay, this is Josh. So go ahead, Josh, you're up, my friend. Josh won a bronze medal at the ACF competition and missed by fractions of points to go to states. It was very close. He was like 32nd.
Yeah,
He so. Top 30, yeah. So go ahead, Josh, and go ahead and talk about your dish.
All right, my name is Joshua BRDI, future chef. So my dish was a chicken Kiev with tornado potatoes and roasted summer squash. And with these dishes, you know, we always have to think about, you know, how it looks, how it tastes. We have to get everything down like that. So I did mine, and I think the only reason I didn't get much higher was just more down to the flavors behind it. And I think I'd undercooked my potatoes a little bit. But so, and it's a fun competition. Made this dish so many times. By the end of it, I was tired of chicken for a long time. So, yeah, and I think we had I had a Dijon mustard sauce on mine as well. So I added that different flair into it.
Very good. Thank you, Josh. Selena, I believe, is working right now, but Selena was also a bronze medalist in the ACF and another CCAP regional participant. Another one very close. All these students were in the top 40. There was 120 competitors, so they were right up there. They really were. So another very similar dish, and I'm going to go move on to Priscilla. Priscilla was a silver medalist in the ACF competition and also just missed the state finals in CCAP.
Hello, I'm Priscilla, and I made chicken Kiev, which is, like Andrew said, it's a mixture of butter and garlic and parsley, and it was a really fun experience, and I really enjoyed participating, and yeah.
Thank you. Priscilla is also our secretary of our CTSO as well, so. Okay, Brianna is another one that was stuck in the truck. Brianna Herrera was a silver medalist at the ACF dessert competition. It was the first year they had that. And it's a little clear up there, but this is a phenomenally visual dish. It's really incredible. She really took it upon herself to do this. We taught her the basics, but she has such a creative skill that we just kind of let her go. And then Greg helped her kind of fine-tune the plate as far as the presentation. And it really speaks for itself. I mean, it makes me hungry just looking at it. So, next person. This is Brianna again. She took fourth place in the Skills USA Commercial Baking Competition. It was incredible. It gives you a real good idea of what she made. There's four different kinds of breads they have to make, 2 different pies. They have to do a contract cake under a specific specification, and on it goes. Coffee cake, etc., cinnamon rolls. The timing of this is pretty incredible to get it all right and to remember everything and to have it all come out on time, and then they do their displays. So she did a wonderful job, and again, she's another person in our program that I'm just really proud of. Megan is not here as well. She also competed in this competition and took 5th place. Same thing. Megan and BRIANNA were first-time competitors. Never done this before. So we're just really proud of what they were able to accomplish. It really does demand your highest skill level and your highest level of thinking when you do this. Boy, we're proud of Jessica too. I'm going to let Greg take this one over. Jessica won a gold medal at the ACF competition. That's the first gold medal ever given out in 10 years of this competition in this class, and she was the first one ever to do it. It's an incredible dish. It was led by Greg, worked with her to get this dish down. But this level of difficulty, I don't think I could do it. I really don't think I could, not in the time limit. So I'm going to go ahead and let Greg talk about this.
All right, thank you for having us. Today what she did, it's a roasted ballantine of chicken with a andouille brioche stuffing with a veal demi, which took 2.5 days, and tornadoed potatoes. I made Jessica tornado probably 1.5 cases to 2 cases of potatoes. It's one of the hardest potatoes to cut. Most chefs ask you, can you do a tornado potato? They'll have you do it, and that literally will determine whether or not you get that job at some of these restaurants. I had her debone. She had literally deboned the whole chicken quarter of the thigh and the leg, deboned it, removed the bone, pounded it out, stuffed it. It was a great dish. It was a tedious dish, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Again, this is my 2nd year, and sorry. It's just been a real joy working with all these students. So, I'm sorry, I didn't think I was going to cry.
We love you too.
So, it was just a great dish, and I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of everybody, and thank you for having us.
By the way, I actually forgot to mention, all the kids had to fabricate their own chickens. And most of them can do it in less than 4 minutes. So that's all 10 pieces. So it's pretty incredible. Okay, you ready, Greg? You're not done yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is the Arizona CCAP National Meatless Chili Competition. This was the first time they ever had this. And Jill Smith, who runs CCAP in Arizona, presented this to us, and Jessica just took the ball and ran with it. By the way, Jessica she's not even in our program full time. She's a TA. So she's doing all this work on her own. She's getting the advice from us, and then she's going off and doing her thing. The other cool thing about this dish, I'll let Greg talk about the chili, but the picture itself is actually done by our graphic arts department. So if you look at that, I mean, that is really professional dish. The reason why we put the best taste in Arizona was the first year they did it, and everybody said hers was the best taste, but they didn't move it on to the national competition. And we're like, why? And we actually looked it up and found out that, I'll let Greg explain this, that there was a dish up there that won 1st or 2nd prize in the nation that was just as complicated as ours, but I'll let Greg talk about why that happened.
Basically, it's a meatless chili. A wife that's vegan, it was very easy for me to help guide Jessica in this, and we basically made a chili. We just supplemented a soy protein for the meat. It's served with peanut butter toast, and some people might think that's crazy, but peanut butter, crostini, and chili actually works. But they basically said that it was too complicated. It was designed for the average cook to come out and actually do that, pull that off the internet and actually do it. They said it was too complicated. There was too many dry chilies in it. You know, so that's we were upset, but I heard that it was really good, and it should have moved on, but it didn't.
Actually at the Scottsdale, sorry, Greg, Cordon Bleu, when we were training for the CCAP, and they had the chili there. They had just finished the tasting, and that's why I knew. They said it was the best in Arizona, so I had to put it up there. So,
but we were. I'll go on to the dessert.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah. But we were actually pleasantly surprised on this one. We took 3rd place in the nation. American Institute of Cancer Research superfoods, so any foods of like blueberries or dates or walnuts and things of that nature. We did a superfood dessert, and we basically made a no-bake cheesecake. We took dates, walnuts, and cocoa, and made the crust so we didn't have to bake it. And then we macerated strawberries, which is basically sugar, and you kind of just let it sit, and it brings out the flavor and the juices of the fruit. And then we made a no-bake cheesecake. We took everything you use to make a cheesecake, but didn't add the eggs to it. And it spot on, tastes like a cheesecake. And then we did a pomegranate spread on the bottom, and we took 3rd place in the nation. So we're very proud of her. Jessica's kind of does it all. In most kitchens, it's tough to find someone who can really be successful baking and desserts and stovetop, and she seems to have it all.
She's extremely dynamic. She's going to be running companies one day, that's a fact. And this kind of caps it off. Jessica won 3 different awards, scholarship awards within CCAP, the state finals. She basically got her a 2-year degree bought and paid for. I'm going to try to remember them all. One of them was the President's CCAP, or I'm sorry, CAC President's Award. She won. She also won the 3rd place competition for the dessert. And then the other, help me out, Greg, what's the name of the 3rd one? Getting Your Just Desserts. It's actually a consortium of female chefs in the Phoenix area, and they were so impressed by her work that she got another scholarship from them. So these were all presented on the same day to Jessica, and to our knowledge, we've never seen that happen at CCAP as well. So for those of you who don't know what CCAP is, it's Careers Through Culinary Arts program. And the past 2 years, the top 30 prize winners, there was $700,000 in scholarship money, with the top prize at Johnson & Wales University being $106,000. What our kids are finding out, which is really academically, I wish there was more students in here right now, the academic message is 3.0, you would have been all the way to the top 5 years ago. Now a 3.7 won't get you there. So the kids that are winning the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, the skill level is so close it makes no difference. But the grade point average is making all the difference, because the big schools, they want a 3.5 or higher. So now that's what we're actually pushing now, saying, look, if you really want to do this, you have to get the academics up. And it used to be 2.5, 2.7, now it's 3.5 will get you maybe 25,000. You got to be up there. So we're really emphasizing that. To close on this, what has happened with all these competitions, the level of skill, the level of their ability to deal with the math, the science, all the things that go into all the thinking to make that happen, has caused us to develop our program that really pulls in the Common Core. And we actually incorporate that from these competitions and use that information, reading, following, executing a recipe, measuring, all of those things are incorporated into our program now because of that. And in fact, the summer program we're going to do with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders this year, we're actually using this test database to see what it does, because we believe we've actually already tested it on our first-year students. And it really incorporates that whole Common Core before you actually go into the kitchen and make the product. So it leads up to that. So we think we're kind of on the cutting edge of something. We don't know exactly where it's going yet, but we're going to start building a database with it to see the weaknesses in the kids. And we should be able to give that information back to the district so you can say, well, they're getting to this level and here's your problems. There's where they are. So we believe we really have something. It took me and Greg a couple of years, and me about 8 years to start to figure all this out. And when this whole Common Core came in from the district, I'm like, we're ready for this, because we know how it plugs in. It's just, CTE is really, that's what we do. We plug Common Core into everything that we do. And then we actually go out there and we do it. It's more like, we're more like education in action, we like to think of that. So the bottom line is none of this would happen without the support of everybody in this room. We know that our programs are very expensive, we get that. But we're trying to show you that you're getting your money's worth. We're really putting kids into colleges. We've won over $100,000 in scholarship money in the last 6 years. So we believe that the program is very viable, but it wouldn't be where it's at today. We could not compete the way we do against the Metro Tech and EVIT if we didn't have the facility and the equipment and the support. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Conley, our kindergarten update.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Conley, Deputy Superintendent. President Anderson, Vice President Coutre, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut. I certainly cannot even come close to the presentations that were prior to me. Butterfield, amazing. And the culinary, I was sitting next to Mr. Beckett and I said, what does fabrication of a chicken mean? So, it's always a learning process. Tonight I am going to review the current plan that we have moving from a full day to a half day kindergarten with an option of full day being tuition based. Ms. Roden has been instrumental in moving this to the next level, communicating this. This is the presentation that we have used at one parent meeting that was held at our district office last night in the Auction Education Service Center, and then tomorrow night that will be here 6 o'clock. We do have registration information as well that will be provided. What the kindergarten options look like for this year. We have the free, not required, free provided tuition, oh my goodness sakes, free kindergarten, half day in a morning session and an afternoon session. As you see, we do have the times. The morning session, free breakfast is available before school. And for the afternoon session, lunch is available before that session. So it's either AM breakfast, PM lunch. There are the times, they have the equal amount of times, as well as an early release Wednesday, we have equal time covering the two sessions. With the half-day option, we will still be able to provide music, library, and PE. It will look like the half-day sessions have one of each throughout the week. In our schools, at the bottom, it does provide information with our schools that have the before and after school programs with 21st Century Learning, which is currently Santa Rosa, Butterfield, Santa Cruz. Those three schools would have students having the option to attend in the afternoon to attend the after school program. We are offering our COPA Kids Care, and that is our before and after school care that we've provided at Butterfield for all of our campuses from 6 to 6, so it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. What this looks like is that there are two options that we've made available. So if we have a student that attends the morning AM session, when they end, they can go into the COPA Kids Care from 11:30 to 3, that's $160 per month. Or option 2, if our community needed the child care until 6 p.m., that would be at $300 a month. If you are at a different campus rather than Butterfield, because it is based upon the licensing, it's a different licensing for our COPA Kids Care, they would be shuttled over to Butterfield from their home school. The full-day tuition-based kindergarten, we are offering that at $145 per month, which when we compare that to other neighboring sites, school districts, it's considerably less expensive. So the full-day tuition-based kindergarten is another option. It is what the full day looks like right now, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. with the early release being at the normal Wednesday release time. The difference in specials classes is they would again receive 1 music, 1 library, and then 2 PE classes, which is the recommended amount of time that the Department of Education recommends.
Fee that we're charging, did we take into consideration any additional expenses we're going to have affiliated with transportation, given your note at the bottom there? Or will we have any additional expenses transportation-wise?
When we looked at the transportation, and I'm going to ask Mr. Roush to please, if he has additional information, to please make sure and add that. When we look at the reimbursement costs for transportation and what we can provide, to the best of our ability, and Mr. Roush, please correct me if I'm wrong, the additional transportation costs have been factored into this. Correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Right now, and we have had some great feedback and questions from our parents asking this, and there is some reasoning with starting with one full-day classroom at Santa Rosa. We are trying to project what we will have for a full-day tuition-based classroom. And so what we look at is that once we get to 20 students for a full-day tuition-based classroom, the first one that we will open up is Santa Rosa. If we fill up the other 20, then they would go to Pima Butte, and then the third will be held at Saddleback. And I want to clarify, the question has come numerous times as far as if Santa Cruz has 20 students that they are wanting the full-day tuition-based, will there be a full-day tuition-based at Santa Cruz? That is a reasonable question, and that's that would be the right thing to do for our students. So once we've already started getting down payments for the tuition, so we can project and have clear understanding of where our full-day tuition-based classrooms will be. We do have a deadline for that registration for full-day to be able to plan adequately, and that is July the 1st. So we're asking that anyone that is interested in the tuition-based classroom to make sure and complete that registration as soon as possible. If the parent is desiring that full day, to put a $50 down payment if possible, but no later. The first full payment is due June the 30th, so then we will be able to have our projections by July the 1st. Please.
Actually, not a question, just a thought. Is there isn't a school, I mean, I noticed you've got 2 schools in Rancho El Dorado listed first to have full-day kindergarten. Was there a thought given as a school south of the tracks, which would be MES, to better serve the community? Just a thought. I mean, I don't need an answer right now, but just, I mean, I'm concerned that it's all in, and I don't know if that's where most of the population is, but just a thought that we do have those, quite a bit of population south of the tracks, to open up a kinder there versus one at Pima Butte, or, I don't, just.
I would like to go ahead and answer that, because that has been brought forth. There's been, like I said, some fantastic parent feedback. And when we sat down as a leadership team, as a district, we started looking at special programs that were held at different schools. We started looking at transportation, and we knew we needed to start somewhere. We also looked at capacity and where some of the buildings that had more availability and the staffing that could currently host those classrooms without adding additional expenses. So there was a lot of thought put into that. But like I said, we've had some feedback from some of our communities in particular that the desire to have enough enrollment for a full day at their home school looks like it could possibly be that option, which is different than what's listed here.
Okay.
One of the questions that has come forth is if we were to register after July the 1st and we still wanted the tuition-based classroom, can I enroll? And that would, what we're planning on doing is having those parents and the students on a waiting list, and once we reach that 20, we would be able to open it up. But that is, we have to have that amount before we start school on that first day.
We are holding strong to, we have to have all of our full-day tuition-based classrooms ready to roll by that first day of school. Payment schedule. We've worked tremendously with our business department and setting it up in our student database to make sure that we have a tracking system and an effective system for payment. That includes our front office staff and, of course, our district office staff. There has been the question with early entrance into kindergarten, and we are doing the screenings for our early kindergarten, and this is our birthday exceptions. So if they are born between the dates of September 1st and December the 31st, what we do is they have an assessment that they need to successfully be able to pass, but then there is a 30-day waiting probation window that if, even though they pass the assessment, they're enrolled in a classroom, if within that first 30 days that there has been concern by the teacher and or principal, we do have that right to ask the student to wait until the following year, and it does not affect any of our enrollment. So we're clarifying that information, that that's a possibility. The other recommendation we cannot require, but the recommendation is if you do have an early kinder student that has passed the screening, that is enrolled, the recommendation is for them to be in a full-day tuition-based program. Early kindergarten screening, the dates and the times and the contact person, along with the contact person for billing. Questions and or comments? Okay.
If the school, their homeschool, let's say a parent's homeschool, is not one of the first ones, okay, so because the first 20 are going to go to Santa Rosa, is the district providing transportation? What if these people live, if the family lives in Altera, they want full-day kindergarten, but the first 20 are going to Santa Rosa, or someone in Rancho on the boundaries of Pima Butte, they turn theirs in and they're going to go to Santa Rosa, not Pima Butte.
Mm-hmm.
Are we providing the transportation, or are the parents going to be responsible for the transportation?
Fantastic question. We are following our open enrollment policy. So what that means is if I have a student that would be going to the full day tuition based, it's out of my home school, then I would, there's two options. Either you transport your own student, because that's our open enrollment policy, or you get them to the closest location for the bus stop. Now, we have looked at, we're looking at lots of different options for getting them to their home school and then shuttling them to their full tuition based. We can't confirm yet that we'll be able to do that. So if my home school was Saddleback, I want the full day, they can ride the bus to Saddleback with their siblings, get on a shuttle, go to Santa Rosa. But that would be several transitions, and we're very aware of that.
Okay. Another question. The Copa kids after school, starting at 11:30 over at Butterfield. Where are you putting those kids? Because right now, the Copa kids after school, they're in the multi-purpose room, they're on the playground, they're in the computer lab. So where are you going to put those kids that are coming over at 11:30 after the half day for the Copa kids?
There's actually 2 classrooms that are licensed along with the multi-purpose room.
And who's going to, and so the Copa kids staff would be doing it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So are they going to be going to full-time employees?
It still does not affect their hours because it's the same. They stagger the times is how that's based.
Okay.
And it's and I want to come up with the right funding. It's it's not a standalone program, but it's a
self-funded,
self-supporting.
Okay. The other one of the first slides, you showed the morning session with the free breakfast, but you also had lunch on there. Does that mean the kids are going to be staying for lunch?
No.
Okay.
So to clarify, the morning session free breakfast, the afternoon session, lunch.
Okay. The specials, full day kindergarten gets one extra special of PE. So what are they doing in the second half?
Van, you are on it because we've had these same questions.
Sorry.
We are, whether it's a half-day program or a full-day program, we have a set of standards that we're required to teach. When you look at the half-day program, first of all, a student, as you know, is not required to go to school until the age of 6.
Mm-hmm.
So kindergarten is not necessarily a required program. The state, however, does fund that half-day program. So when you look at our standards for kindergarten, whether it's an all-day or a half-day program, we're still held to teach those standards. In a full day, it does look different. There is more enrichment. It's just a different programming for those standards. But we are still held accountable to do those standards in a half day.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question, or maybe just a follow-up for the next meeting with Dr. Chestnut and Dr. Connolly. Can we take a look at our open enrollment policy? Because my concern is that was intended for parents who wanted to choose to send their kids, say, to Pima Butte or another school. The way we're implementing it now, these parents are not getting a choice. It's not their choice to go to the school. We're saying the only school you can go to kindergarten at is the one where full-day kindergarten is. So my concern is, can we just look at that policy, because it was intended for parents who want to choose to go to another in-district school, then yes, they would provide their own transportation. We are not giving them a choice. So we're dictating where they need to take their kids. So if that's going to be a school decision, then I want to take a look at that open enrollment policy, because that concerns me.
And absolutely, in fact, we've had some conversations about the open enrollment policy. The full day is a choice, where we're providing the half day in every school. So that's, I mean, when we look, and we've had this discussion, so I do appreciate that, and we will absolutely look at the policy again.
All right, that's all I'm just asking. Let's take a look at it and see, because my concern is it's our choice, not where they're going.
And we will be the first to admit that change, we're working with all of our stakeholders to come up with the best possibility for our students.
Do you still about the where the students will go?
Okay.
The first school to open up is in Santa Rosa, and then the second school was what, Pima Butte?
Yes.
Okay. So if there are 60 kids who enroll, will we not take those by the deadline? Will we not take those 60 kids and then redistribute based on their home school versus, since you're the 20th person to register, you go to Santa Cruz no matter what?
In order for us to be able to adequately fund that full day FTE, we have to have 20 students. And so let's say that we had a classroom at Santa Rosa, we had 17 students from Saddleback and 3 from Pima Butte. Common sense would be, let's open that classroom in Saddleback. Here, this is why we have to have that tuition paid by June the 30th in order to make those decisions.
But once we know, once you've got tuition paid on June 30th, then we look at where the students are and where the schools are and distribute them accordingly, right?
You have to have it, because the model for a full day is that you can't have a student that attends an AM session and a PM session with 2 different teachers. It has to be with that same teacher across the course of the full day. So when you look at, even though we have 20 students that are doing a tuition-based, we have to keep them together in that group of 20, but we do have to look at where the numbers will lie in majority. Is that?
No. So let me ask you the question a different way. We're
Okay,
going to
please.
make our best effort to get every student who's enrolled in the full day program to be in their home school if at all possible. Is that correct? if there are 25 kids from Santa Rosa who register for the program out of, say, 60 kids, well, we make sure that Santa Rosa class is all 20 Santa Rosa kids.
Yes, we can, I mean, the ratio to a teacher to student for kindergarten is 1 to 31. So yes, absolutely. We have to have 20 though to be able to make that class. Yes, I'm with you now, I apologize.
Maybe just to add to that discussion. Correct, we will try to locate the program where the students are enrolling. I think that's pretty obvious. So, I mean, for example, I was talking to a group of Butterfield parents. They're determined to get 20 because they want to have a full-day option at their school. So we said, hey, go out and recruit and get 20 people, and then we'll come back and we'll look at that. So that's why the deadline is important. We need to know who's really serious, and you really know they're serious when they put the money down.
So if MES had 20 parents, if they did the same thing to rally parents, I'm just really concerned that
right,
because PMU is already a full school. So I'm concerned that there's not going to be room.
Absolutely.
So I just would like to.
I did think of one more question, sorry. We are asking them to have that July 1st deadline to have their money in. What happens for because we have this in our schools where they register, but then the first day of school and they decide, nah, we're not going to do this. So what's going to happen if they decide, you know, they sign up, they pay their $50, they pay their first payment, but their child has to go to a different school, so they decide, well, you know what, we're not going to do that full day option now after all. We'll just do the half day at our home school. What kind of accountability are we putting on our parents that are registering for that, and how are we going to handle that when that happens?
And Mr. Roush, Dr. Chestnut, Mr. Beckett, please correct me if I'm wrong. I know that once they have registered and provided that first tuition payment, that is non-refundable once that first payment, or once that payment is done. Correct?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
We have to plan. We have to have staffing in place by the time the kids
Mm-hmm.
get there. So this $50 is simply a commitment.
Yep.
A trust element. We're hoping that they're going to fulfill their commitment.
Okay.
Our direct cost is right around 15 for these programs.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Connolly. Brings us to our Budget Committee recommendations, Dr. Chestnut.
Turned out it's fair play.
I know. I forget to give it to them, and they forget to give it back. Well, we've been talking about Budget Committee recommendations since January, and as you well know, Rick Nielsen and Jim Irving were the co-chairs of that Budget Committee recommendation, and facilitated by Aaron Roush, and we had about 15 people on that committee, and had a lively discussion for several weeks. And Rick kind of has briefed us on the progress of that committee during that time, and you've looked at this list. We referred to it many times, and it's really been part of our discussion. And I probably should have titled this Budget Committee Recommendations Revised, because I did tinker with it just a bit, and I think you'll see why in a moment. The committee kind of divided it up into two areas, things that they recommended that the governing board fund for the upcoming school year, but then knowing that we don't have large cash reserves to fund a lot of stuff, made recommendations for cuts to fund those programs. It was really kind of some out-of-the-box thinking. It was appreciated because they were not only coming up with ideas on how to spend money, but how to fund it as well. So maybe just for the purpose of discussion, I'll start with Section B, and you should be pretty well aware of this. They recommended that free half-day kindergarten be in place instead of a full day. And so the board made that choice, and so that one we can check off the list, that's done, and so that will save us $480,000 for this upcoming school year. The second thing that they recommended was the the committee actually recommended closing a middle school, which would have saved, I believe we projected $540,000. Governing board, we debated that, as you know, at our last meeting and decided on just having 2 middle schools for grades 7 and 8 and making reductions, which will save us $420,000 is the amount that we are projecting right now. And I'm going to come back and review that number in a little bit more detail. And then the Budget Committee also recommended what the Budget Committee was trying to do was come up with funds to pay for salary increases for both certified and classified staff. And so to do that, you have to be a little bit creative, right? So they came up with several options, and it's kind of a menu. You could pick and choose. I'm not really sure that these cuts were in priority order. I think they were just kind of up there as a list. So one way to regain funds would be to eliminate ESS stipends that are paid by the M&O budget. So ESS, that's our special education program. We pay our special ed staff stipends of about $2,000 per certified teacher in recognition of the a large amount of time that they put in outside of work hours preparing for special education paperwork, really is what it's all about. Preparing for individualized education plans. Every student has to have one of those. Preparing for the annual meetings with parents to discuss those IEP plans. The work that goes into the reevaluations of students every 3 years. The MDT meetings that occur as a way to kind of fine-tune that meeting or that plan as it goes along. So as you know, there's a lot of moving parts to special ed, and it's recognition of that extra time they're putting in. Number 4 was to cut 7 FTE district-wide through attrition. That would be above and beyond the cuts that are necessary at the middle school level to realize those savings of $420,000. So the thought was that we would go with larger class size, district-wide, fewer classified staff, maybe fewer nurses, maybe fewer counselors, maybe 1 fewer administrator, 7, not necessarily all teaching positions, but 7 positions, and we went with kind of an average salary there of $245,000. So in other words, have fewer staff on board, but then use those funds so that we can give a salary increase to the staff that remain. Number 5, reduce M&O stipends by 1/3. We spend a large amount of money on stipends, as you can imagine. Once you add up all of the coaches' salaries and everything from ticket takers to no prep stipends, where we buy a preparation period so that we can have a high school teacher teach an additional class, it adds up. And so the idea would be to cut those all by 1/3. That would save $100,000. The other option then was kind of also a creative one, and that would be to lengthen the Maricopa High School day by 1 period, so that students would take 7 periods. And sometimes I say this wrong, so Rick has to make sure I say this right. Teachers would teach 1 additional class, and they would teach 6 instead of 5. They would still have a prep period, but they would teach in an extra period. And the net effect of that is that because you are teaching that many more classes, you would need about 3 fewer teachers. So that would save about $145,000. So it was kind of a creative way to do that. And the idea on both number 4 and number 6 was ideally we wouldn't lay anybody off, give them a pink slip, do a RIF notice to them. We would do this through attrition, ideally, and you know, we will have to replace teachers this year. I believe we have 25 positions posted right now, certified positions posted on our website. That does include some 6th grade positions. We do anticipate that some of our current middle school staff will move into those positions, but still, I mean, that number's already starting to inch up there. We're hoping it's not going to be up to 70 where it was, you know, last school year, but we think that we know there's going to be some attrition, and so that was the idea behind that. So if you made all those cuts, you could save $1,451,000. Okay, now go back to the top. To fund the following, what they were saying was that they agreed that we needed to fund the budget deficit of $1 million. That's our deficit. They said that then the next items were in priority order. To the first priority, according to the Budget Committee, which should be to fund a 1-step increase for teachers. That would cost $225,000. As you know, we're going into year number 5, so If we don't start correcting this problem, our teachers will lose a 5th step on the salary schedule. And the really bad part of that is that a teacher can leave here and go teach in Chandler or some other district in the East Valley who are paying all those steps and get an immediate $3,000 to $5,000 bump. And I know some teachers, at least one from Maricopa High School, has already signed a contract and that kind of thing to make that happen for next year. So that's the idea. That's why it's a priority. Then number 3, a classified 2% increase. We know that our classified staff have not had an increase in the last 4 years, and they don't have the opportunity for increases due to 301 funds or increases due to going back to school, and as teachers do have those options still. And then number 4, the idea would be to make additional progress on the teacher's salary schedule. And this was the only line I really tinkered with, knowing that the top and bottom numbers had to add up. At first, we thought we could afford more, but we're not saving as much in middle school reductions, right, and closing a middle school. So I just tweaked that a little bit to show, we could throw in another $26,000 so that the numbers match up there. So that's pretty much what the Budget Committee recommended. So I'm kind of on a roll here. You're welcome to ask questions or jump in. Yes?
Go ahead, Mr. Bartle.
Our emphasis and desire to cut through attrition seems to conflict with our objective of hiring and retaining the best of the best. Why the emphasis to do that? It seems like we've got, if only 1% of our employees would be better served with a different career or a different employer, that in of itself would be our 7 folks. So I guess, so if you could speak to that, I'd appreciate it.
I guess the main point I'd make is that all of these recommendations, even if we did all of them, they wouldn't short-circuit our current evaluation system. And so we have a system in place where we have high expectations for our staff, and staff members that aren't meeting those expectations, well, in some cases, they'll be non-renewed. And so we have a few cases like that, or maybe people that are no longer going to be with us for whatever reason next year, and that's part of the evaluation process. So I think that part is still going forward. And also, we've told staff that, ideally, we know we're going to reduce some positions. We're several positions at the middle school level, kindergarten teacher positions being eliminated, that kind of thing. Now, ideally, we're going to find places for those people internally that they're highly qualified for. It is possible that somebody's certificate is not going to match up, and it wouldn't be permissible for us to hire them in the positions that remain. So it is possible that we may lose some staff members that way. So attrition, we can't really solve all of our problems through attrition.
Nor do we want to, right?
Nor do we want to. Okay. Yep. It'd be impossible to say that we could match up everything, just through attrition, reorganizing our current staff. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, I have a couple questions. On item number 3 of the B section, the ESS stipends paid by M&O, aren't ESS stipends reimbursed from the state? We pay them out of M&O, but then don't we get reimbursed from the state? Because isn't that some of our SPED teachers and some of the...
I don't know the history on this. Okay. All I know is this year. Yeah, it's a good question because I got the same question from ESS staff. This year, we are supplementing the Special Services Department, Special Education Department with M&O funds. We do get state and federal funds for the purpose of special education students, our ESS program. And ideally, that would be cover all of our expenses, but like many districts, it doesn't cover all of it. And so we are spending more than $62,000 from M&O to supplement special education. So in essence, we are, those funds are coming out of M&O for those stipends. We're not reimbursed for all those expenses.
For all of them, okay. And then the next one is, I'm not understanding how lengthening the high school day, because we're asking those teachers to teach longer for less money.
Well, that's the way many of them would look at it.
As a high school teacher,
yes.
That's how I look at it.
Yes.
I'm like, you're asking me to teach longer, and I'm for less money. So
yes,
it's just a concern.
If you reviewed the feedback I sent you from the high school staff, that's a pretty good summary of what many of them said. We would not increase their workday, however. What we would do is that we would eliminate RAM time, which is I think 25 or 30 minutes. We would add on an additional 20 minutes to make that a 7th period. And then so it'd be a longer student day by about 20 minutes. the teacher workday would be the same. They wouldn't have as much of their preparation time before and after school. Really, the time they're required to be on duty before and after school, that would be shorter. Their workday would be the same. But yes, I mean, what you said is true. They would still be teaching more for the same pay, and because of that, that's not a very popular proposal from everyone I heard from at the high school.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
I have some good news on this topic, and as you know, our goal has been to come up with $1 million in deficit reduction. That's what we're anticipating, the gap that we need to fill. And so we've been through these numbers many times, so we're going to change kindergarten. That'll say $480,000. There's our reductions at the middle school, $420,000. That will include 3 certified staff, 2 teachers and a counseling position. That'll include 2 administrator TOSA positions, teacher on special assignment. As you know, we no longer have assistant principals at the middle schools. Instead, we have teachers on special assignment. It's a teacher salary schedule, but they are doing administrative work. We would eliminate the funding for those 2 positions. But I have to say that even though the funding for those 2 positions is scheduled to be eliminated, it is possible there could be some TOSA time at one or both middle schools. And the reason for that is that principals have flexibility in how they use their staff. So if we are awarding each of them 19 staff members, and if they can find a way to squeeze out maybe a half day of a teacher assignment to be administrative support in the form of a TOSA, and they can make that schedule work, you know, principals have that flexibility. But we are reducing the staff, the funding for those positions. We are still working on the master schedules. Mr. Abel and Mr. Veras are obviously taking the lead on that, and we're meeting with them. We have our next meeting on Monday, and they're finalizing the details. So I'm not sure where we're going to end up there. I'm just wanting to say that is a possibility. Next thing would be a reduction of 5 classified staff, and then we'll have some small amount of energy savings. So we think that we're on target for $420,000 in reductions at middle school level. And then some other things have come up in the last couple of months since we started talking about this $1 million target, which actually have helped us. And one is that we are in the middle of reorganizing Maricopa Online and redoing that for next year. We will save 2 staff positions, but we only can realize the dollar savings for one of them. So the counseling position at Maricopa Online, that position has already been RIF'd. We reduced that position in force a couple meetings ago. Salary and benefits, that position is $80,000. And we are not planning to replace that counseling position. So that is a savings to M&O. And that's part of the tricky part of this. It's all got to be savings to M&O, which kind of leads into the next item, and that is we are not planning to replace the Maricopa Online Administrator position. That position was funded with grant funds this year. So even though we will spend less as a district, we can't use that as a reduction towards M&O. But we are not planning to replace that position. And then the next item, we are planning on a new online provider for this next year. We're going to go through an RFP process and come up with a new online vendor for credit enrichment as well as credit retrieval. But we know that we will have fewer kids doing credit retrieval because there won't be the 75 or 80 full-time students in the MOL program, and that's all they're doing. We also think that we've been looking at different options, and if we do not include a teacher of record, there's significant savings in the price of online services. So we think that we can save $100,000. Now there's a range there. It could be as low as $70,000 in savings. It could be $130,000 in savings. I think that $100,000 is a nice conservative estimate, and we could put that in there and pretty well count on that, I believe. And then we're also looking at a reduction of 1 staffing position in the district office. That brings us to $1,106,000 that we are projecting as of today. So that is good news for us, and it helps us get to that reduction number that we were looking at. So my thought on this is that obviously we are going to start working towards finalizing our budget. I mean, that is really the next big step. And We have a meeting on a Monday, as I mentioned, with middle school principals. We are going to finalize our middle school staffing plan. That's kind of like the final puzzle piece. And then we will know the grand total of certified positions we're going to hire for next year. We'll know the grand total of classified positions we're going to hire for, and we'll know the grand total of administrative positions we're going to hire for. Once we know that with certainty, we can start not finalizing, but putting together a final budget proposal to you. And so my recommendation is that, based on this information that we've reviewed tonight, that you share your thoughts with me or Mr. Roush or Mr. Beckett, Dr. Conley, through email, by phone, or in person. Tell us your thoughts on how we should put this together. And then at our next meeting, we're going to be bringing you back some more specific proposals and ideas of how we think this budget's going to work. And we'll start working towards the finish line of getting this thing adopted by in July. We're certainly willing to have discussion tonight and get that discussion going right now if you'd like to.
I'm fine with thinking about what you've got here, and I need time to process this. Does anybody else have any questions or
No, I don't mind emailing you.
concerns or ideas? Mr. Bartle, any thoughts?
I have lots of thoughts, but
Just ones you can say in public. How's that?
I don't think it's necessary to discuss it tonight. So
Okay. All right. So we're clear. If you'll email or make time to meet with Dr. Chestnut, Dr. Connolly, and discuss concerns and questions, and then that way it'll give you something to present at the next board meeting. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chestnut. We are on to 5E, which is our dress code policy. That would be Dr. Chestnut again. This is a exciting endeavor.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many more months I can use this excuse, but I'm still new in the Maricopa Unified School District.
It isn't working anymore.
And I'm still trying to understand everything. And I am aware from watching YouTube videos from last spring that there has been discussion about dress code. And just to be totally honest with you, I'm not sure what the issues are. So maybe you can tell me what you'd like me to look into. And of course, I'll involve Dr. Conley and others in getting to the bottom of that. But if you could share with us some direction, that would be appreciated.
Oh, I can help with that. One of the things that one of the issues that came up for me is that we're a unified school district. Our policy does not indicate that we have to have a dress code for our secondary and a uniform code for our elementary. One of the things that we want to do is simplify it and have it across the board. Our policy strictly states that, the dress code can't be, interrupting our classroom environment. It can't be disruptive. And I don't see how in an elementary school, if a little kid comes in with a plaid button-down shirt and a pair of shorts that aren't one of the colors they're supposed to be wearing, how that is going to interrupt the classroom environment. There was some talk about having the uniforms would help, it would help not set those kids out that maybe can't afford the fancy clothes. The socioeconomic status wouldn't be that noticeable, but it is. And for those parents to have to go buy a set of uniforms and then another set of clothes and then you got dual laundry, that really doesn't help for the parent. Now I know that you had communicated with the elementary principals and they're all for the uniforms at the elementary level, but have we gone out to the parents, have we gone out to the teachers? Because I think our teachers need to be focusing on teaching not whether little Johnny's not wearing a collared shirt in the right color today. We need to have something that's simple and unified. And to be honest with you, if we're going to have a uniform policy, I think it needs to be in the secondary schools too, because that's where the issues get a little racy. Not at the elementary level. And as a parent of a student still in the elementary level, I got to tell you, he does not wear those clothes when he gets home. I have to have 2 sets of clothes and 2 sets of laundry, and it can be a pain. And the spirit shirts, they sell the spirit shirts at all the schools. Those parents that can afford, buy them. Those that can't, don't. So that's kind of like where I was coming from when this was brought up last year. And it does kind of sadden me here that we're going to go another year without addressing this.
I'd like to comment on the teachers having to tell little Johnny about the collar he's wearing.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with you that that should not be something that has to occur on a regular basis, and I think it's incumbent upon the teacher that they ought to have enough discipline in their classroom that little Johnny doesn't wear the wrong clothes and is consistent with the dress code.
Little Johnny's not getting dressed by the teacher. I mean, that's where.
If we collectively enforce the rules, though, however you look at that.
But we don't.
Well, then maybe we should enforce the rules.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is there are concerns that there is not consistency within the dress code or the uniform policy district-wide. So can we look into creating some consistency? This is, because I go to all the elementary schools and every principal reinforces that policy differently. So my concern would be simplify it, make it easy.
Across the board, K through 12.
So that it's easy for teachers, easy for principals, and also easy for parents. That would be my big wish, is how do we simplify this? I know it's an emotional, heated topic. It's been going on for 3 years, so, you know, the simpler the better in my mind. Is that possible?
Anything's possible. My experience tells me it doesn't matter what your dress code is,
Right.
You have to enforce it, and there's always going to be enforcement issues, always. It's always an issue, and it doesn't matter if it's elementary, middle school, or high school. It is tougher at the high school. It takes more vigilance. But even if you had a general, even if you had a non-uniform requirement at the elementary level, you're still going to have dress code issues.
But right now, our policy doesn't state, I mean, I could send my son wearing a plaid shirt and a solid pair of cargo shorts, and it wouldn't be in violation of the policy.
Because it states a collared shirt.
No, not in the policy.
The policy, that's attached?
That's not the policy. The policy is this. That is the handbook information from the elementary school. But that's not in violation of the policy.
Right, as is often the case, the policy is written in general language, and then it refers to regulations are developed by the superintendent, and what that really means, the superintendent works with the principals and others to come up with that stuff. And so the dress codes that appear in the elementary and secondary handbooks are essentially the dress code, even though it's not board policy. That's the way it evolves.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you look at our policy, it doesn't state, it doesn't even refer to elementary handbook.
Right, it's very general.
Yes.
Very general.
Okay, so can we just
Yes, ma'am.
bring that back as
Sure.
a policy and just take a look at it?
Sure, you bet.
How's that? Will that?
Oh, that'd be fine, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go to item F, 5F on our information, which is the state of Arizona enrollment regulations. Dr. Chestnut, do you have information for that?
I do.
Okay.
I have a slide here. There it is, coming up. Thank you, Christian. Well, the enrollment regulations in the state of Arizona, I know, have been a common source of discussion in Maricopa Unified School District for many years. And you may not always phrase it that way, but if you really look at it, the Arizona Revised Statutes speak to issues of busing and what neighboring districts can do in regards to busing, and as you know, it's a big issue in our community. Right now, Kyrene Elementary School District sends in approximately 11 buses into our district on a daily basis and transports students out and then brings them home at night. Tempe Union High School District has 5 buses transporting students out in the morning and bringing them back in the afternoon. The number is, the grand total for elementary and secondary students is around 725 students. It's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going on for a number of years, and there's always questions about this. And so I've kind of taken this project on and trying to get to the bottom of it, understand it completely, and I'm discovering there's a lot of moving parts to this. So I kind of started this process about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I went and met in person with the superintendents for Kyrene Elementary School District and Tempe Union School District. And all three of us sat down together at the same time. First time I'd had the opportunity to meet those gentlemen. And they were very nice, very friendly. But their main message was that's the way their school districts do business. And that's the way their school districts have done business for many years. And not just those 2 districts, but many districts throughout greater Phoenix area. And in fact, in Kyrene, 25% of the students are from outside the school district, and they send buses to several neighboring school districts, not just Maricopa. Likewise with Tempe Union, 20% of their students are from outside the school district. And so it's a longstanding practice involving many districts. Scottsdale sends buses out of district. Many other districts do this. Common practice. I also found out, interestingly enough though, that in Pima County, they don't do it. And you know, the metro area of Tucson is, you know, there's several school districts that converge right there. And none of them send buses into neighboring school districts. They do have choice, of course, and parents can, you know, transport their child to the nearest bus stop in the neighboring district or whatever, and then get on that bus. But they don't cross borders. So it's a little bit of a, I don't know, just an agreement they have down there. There's nothing formal. It's just kind of an unwritten rule, and they just don't do it down there. So it kind of varies in different parts of the state. But the language that controls it, really controls this issue, is pretty much this ARS 15-816-01 Section B. And I'm not going to read it to you, but basically what it says is that you can provide transportation no more than 20 miles each way. So did a little bit further research, and so far I've been able to find the bus stops for Tempe Union High School District. And I left the information in my office, but there are, I believe, 5 or 6 bus stops in Maricopa. 2 of them are within the 20-mile range. There's a bus stop in Cobblestone Farms, and there's a bus stop in Rancho, and both of those are precisely 19.2 miles to Mountain Point High School, according to Google Maps. Yep. And Google Maps is pretty darn accurate. However, the other 3 or 4 bus stops in town are more than 20 miles. So this is something that we're going to look into further. I'm in the process of reviewing this with our attorney, Jill Osborne. One of the statements that has been made by Representative Steve Smith is that he feels that there could be a possibility of a lawsuit over this issue, that we may be, you know, that those 2 districts are improperly implementing this law and causing loss to the school district, potential for a lawsuit. Don't know the answer to that definitively, but Jill Osborne or somebody from her firm, we're going to have a definitive legal answer or recommendation on that issue. And so that's something that we're working on also. We'll also be working on the bus stops locations for Kyrene. We don't have that information yet. So there's a couple different angles we're looking at, but that is kind of the state of the situation right now, and we'll continue to work on this until we get to the very bottom of it. Because as far as I can tell, nobody's ever really gotten to the very bottom of it anywhere in the state. And so that's why we need to continue to research this and get those questions answered.
Dr. Chestnut, in reading it, is there a definition to adjacent? Because when I first read it, I thought adjacent was bordering, where you couldn't jump one district to another district. You couldn't pass through one district to get the cream of the crop, but not take everybody else in the middle. So I'm sure that Jill's probably working on that, but my question would be, what's the definition of adjacent, and is that, give us some more information?
Yeah, the adjacent clause doesn't really apply to us very much, because what that really is saying is that if it's adjacent and it's students that are on free or reduced lunch, then you can be reimbursed from the state for all the transportation that can be over 20 miles. That's really what that clause means. So in our case, that doesn't really apply. The first few clauses at the top are what apply, and they really do give permission to run buses 20 miles. Doesn't matter how many districts you go through. So that's part of it, but that's part of what that's why we need an attorney. As Jill Osborne said, this is a poorly worded piece of law, and it's very hard to decipher, but we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, great. And there's nothing in here about jumping from one county to the next, because it's Maricopa County to Pinell County, so I didn't know if Pinell County could
Yeah, you might
join
think that
together, and I don't know, I'm
it would
just
make sense that there could be
brainstorming.
some kind of prohibition on that, but as far as I know, county lines have nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So what my plan is, as I said, we'll continue to get this information, bring it back to you as we get the final answers.
Okay.
Unless there's any further questions.
No, thank you for the update. Okay, that brings us to our, did anybody have any questions on that for Dr. Chestnut or other information? No? Okay. Item 6, consent agenda. Remember, we took B out. So.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Action items. 7A. This is our HR schedule. That would be Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, President Anderson, members of the Governing Board, Dr. Chestnut. You have the personnel schedule in front of you tonight. If you have any questions, I can entertain them at this point.
I don't have any questions. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Beckett?
What does a Maricopa Wells event coordinator do?
The event coordinators, thank you, Member Bartle. These are quarterly paid positions that involve typically a front office staff member. They work directly with Mr. Nienaber, the district athletic director, in helping to coordinate the day-to-day operations for each one of these events as they occur. Mr. Nienaber obviously is coordinating middle school and high school events, so it's difficult for him sometimes to be at all of the events. So these people, these designees, then do things like making sure that the fields are prepared, you know, that officials are paid, that parent meetings are facilitated. They take the pay for play money. So they provide a vital role for just getting the coordination of those programs at each of the sites.
And that's quarterly, so it's $4,000 annually?
Correct, for each of the middle school sites.
If I could jump in there, I know a little bit about this one just because I supervise Corey Nienaber's athletic director, and he set this new system up at the beginning of the year, and he worked with us to make it happen. The athletic department budget was about $60,000. He knew that as the district athletic director, he couldn't hope to, you know, run all the events at each middle school and even the high school. So we don't have athletic directors at the middle schools, but we have these event coordinators. So as Mr. Beckett said, this year he used that $60,000 budget. He set up this plan so that at the middle school level he was paying a total of $4,000 to each school for these coordinators. And some people do more than one season, but whatever. A lot of responsibility, as Mr. Beckett said. He has told me that his plan is to cut the payment for those in half next year.
Okay.
Because he realized it was a little high. He's already told everybody that has done that job this year that they're going to reduce the payment for that by half. He thought it was a little high, and that's the plan for next year.
So we just saved some money. Put that in the budget report.
I didn't even put that on the slide, so I was tempted. But.
Good question, Mr. Bartle.
I move that we approve the personnel schedule.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the personnel schedule. Any last-minute questions before we vote? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The HR schedule is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. 7B, discussion and possible approval of second and final reading of updated policy I-7350, IKF, graduation requirements. Dr. Chestnut?
I was tempted to put this on the consent agenda because the change is really so minor, but the version we looked at last week did not list physical education health separately as a one-credit requirement. It was lumped in as one of the electives, but our current policy has it broken out separately. It's more clear if you do it that way, and I'd recommend that we do that change. So that's the only reason I want to be able to talk about that and just remind you why it was changed. Very minor.
Thank you. I was wondering where that went as a PE teacher. Okay, so any questions for Dr. Chestnut? Okay. Do we have any motions for item 7B?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. I'll second that. Is there any last-minute discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have approved the second reading of the policy. Okay. Brings us to item 8. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Motion? Oh, in a second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, Dr. Chestnut, Dr. Connolly, Mr. Beckett, Mr. Roush. Board members, have a great weekend.